and I made him watch. I heard that Crow kind of sucked.
Oh, well, I it's dangerous touching an IP like that because people have a sort of connection to the original.
People are crazy.
And I understand, like, especially with the first movie with Brandon Lee and the tragedy
the whole
that
accident,
surrounded
yes,
that.
yes.
So, I don't know. People might see it as like desecrating hallowed sacred ground, maybe. So I don't know.
Well, in other news, apparently Beetlejuice 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be
what
willing.
I'm gathering from people's opinions on TikTok, at least.
I would definitely be willing to go see it for sure.
I mean, I would definitely be willing to go see The Crow as well.
Yeah.
So we can do that.
I feel like The Crow, if you just viewed it as its own thing and not connected to the original,
which it's
series,
not. It's like a whole remake.
Right. And having never read like the graphic novels or anything like that, I mean, I could see it as being it's a standalone, really good movie. So
yeah,
I'd be willing to go see both of those movies for sure.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to And I Made Him Watch, the podcast where I make my husband watch weird vintage movies for my enjoyment. I'm your host, Dani Page, and here with me, forever and always, the Lord of my castle, the filmmaker, and my husband, Troy Allen. Me Lord.
Milady.
Ew.
Oh man, that's gross. Actually, I'm so sorry about that. Thank you all for joining us on this fantastic episode here, Labor Day weekend, 2024. Okay.
Thank you for those who continue to listen to this podcast. We really appreciate you.
Honestly,
Thanks for coming back.
You're doing it to yourself at this point, But yeah,
it's fine. It's fine.
Oh man, yeah. Let's do this. This movie was.
Yeah, it was. It's not a bad movie. It's not horrible.
No.
Okay. So I made you watch the Lair of the White Worm from 1988, which follows an archaeological student and a venomous aristocrat in battle of wits and fangs over an ancient serpent god's revival. It's like a 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, the movie is like I don't know. It's a little bit better than middle of the road for me. Like.
Well, that's a 6 for me. So that's
yeah. It's definitely not a bad movie. I would definitely watch it again at some point. But yeah, not blow your socks off type of movie.
Right. Like it's not gator bait or like Don't Answer the Phone or anything like that, but it's also not Suspiria or Daughters of Darkness. You know, like it's campy enough, but it also has its very serious moments where they have a deep development of a story, kind of.
And a somewhat kind of sort of star-studded cast.
Yeah, also. It has some talented people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We begin with a faraway shot of a cave entrance in the side of a mountain and slowly zoom in. The audience is slowly brought forward towards the mouth of the cave until we cut to the skull of something. It's like some sort of like dragon dinosaur fossil being unearthed by our guy Angus. Angus is portrayed by the astonishing 12th Doctor himself, Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, my boy.
The Trent sisters, Mary and Eve, poke some fun at Angus's discovery before they begin to clean off the fossil. So it also turns out it's not a fossil of a dino. Angus deduces that it's not old enough to be a fossil of a dinosaur because of the Roman coins he found in the same area and level of his excavation.
Yeah, and it definitely don't look like no dinosaur that
it's
I ever
something.
seen.
It was something.
Yeah.
So if it's not a dinosaur, then what is it? That's the question. Mary then invites Angus to a party that the sisters have been invited to. And later at night at the party, they are getting down hard. They got some jigs going on. You got a band singing about a large worm roaming the countryside. And then they have this pageantry of this giant snake puppet trying to eat a young woman, who was Eve at the party. And then Lord James Diampton slays the worm, rescuing the woman. And it's like a local legend. Also, Lord James Diampton is played by Mr. Hugh Grant.
Yep, that guy.
Also, apparently, in an animated special feature thing for Doctor Who, Hugh Grant, I guess, voiced the Doctor who was actually the 12th Doctor at the time. So that was like in the 90s, though. It was like some sort of animated special.
So in essence, in this movie, we've got 2 different versions of the 12th Doctor.
Yes.
Wow. That's some Inception
It's
shit
not
right there.
some fucking Doctor Who shit, though.
I mean, I immediately, when I saw Peter Capaldi, I was like, who better to be an archaeologist than the Doctor? Yeah, so.
Honestly.
Cool.
Also, Peter Capaldi looking real nice. He just got something about him in this movie that's just, I don't know.
And later on, though, he's rather dashing in the the kilt and bagpipes. Anyways,
don't get me started on the kilt. Whew.
We'll get there.
So Mary is played by actress Sammy Davis, and then the other Trent sister Eve is portrayed by Catherine Oxenberg, respectively.
Yeah, it's not to be confused with Sammy Davis Jr.
No.
The jazz player.
Yeah, that would be an interesting movie, though.
I would watch it. I would definitely see it.
Angus is then told about the local legend of the Diampton worm and how Lord James's ancestor slew the worm to protect the village. Mary and Angus head home towards the bed and breakfast. The Trent sisters' family have been operating for a while. And they leave Eve in the care of Lord James because apparently Lord James and the Trent sisters are really old friends and stuff. So on the way through the forest, Mary tells Angus about how her parents used to travel the same path before they disappeared a year prior. Mary tells him that she feels like her parents are spirited away. After telling Angus about her dead boyfriend, he makes the move and kisses her, but then they're interrupted by a car driving without their headlights towards an abandoned house, quote unquote. The headlights were on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as she said that, I was like, the fuck you mean?
Yeah. So that's just that's an oopsie.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Also, so going back to the party thing, Peter and Hugh Grant's characters are sitting there talking, and Peter Capaldi, Angus is sitting there eating something, which later on it's revealed that it's pickled earthworms.
Yeah.
And I was like, ew, which he obviously didn't know that either, because he was fucking chomping down.
Yeah, he was.
And also like the cinematography up to this point is actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's not a badly shot movie at all.
No.
I mean, it's 1988, so
yeah.
This film is as old as you are.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking going on 36 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Which isn't crazy. I mean, it's crazy, but it's not like, oh, this is a really old film. You know?
Yeah.
When they arrive back to the bed and breakfast, Ernie, a police officer, is waiting. A pocket watch that was owned by the Trent sisters' father has been discovered. And Mary lets Ernie know about the strange car, and he says he'll go check it out and heads over to an old mansion called Temple House. Fucking gorgeous house, by the way. Just wonderfully. It's the architecture. The houses they used for this movie were beautiful. I love it.
It definitely had that old English manor vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Ernie, his fucking eyes are wild. I don't know
which way he's looking.
I don't know if the actor actually has like a fake eye or something like that. but I don't know. Like his left eye never blinks. I don't know if you notice that it never. His right eye blinks. Left eye, no. It's like that's a glass eye, I think, which also comes in handy later on in the movie, which we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't see anything because I feel like that would be mentioned in somewhere on the internet or in like Wikipedia or something about his eye being fake.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it unless I overlooked it.
But you noticed it in the movie, right?
I mean,
like
I noticed that he had like a lazy eye and stuff or whatever.
Yeah, like just go back and watch a clip of it and you'll notice like his left eye never blinks.
I didn't notice that part. Yeah. Okay. Ernie goes over to the abandoned house and then he is stung by a snake as the lady Sylvia Marsh appears. She offers to help Ernie with the bite and welcomes him into her home. Anyway, Sylvia then sucks on Ernie's leg to try to get the venom out from the bite.
I mean...
She's really on that thing, just... You know?
I mean, yeah, but Sylvia, like, she kind of got it going on.
Sylvia's a freak.
Yeah.
I like her.
I cannot blame Ernie for letting her suck on his leg.
I don't blame any of the, like... Sylvia, she gets...
When Ernie first showed up to the house and he's standing out in the fucking woods and he's calling his fucking partner or whatever on the radio and his partner's like,
that back and forth?
Yeah. I just sat down for dinner. I'm eating my turkey or whatever. And Ernie's just like, fuck your turkey.
So, a little fact, the voice of Ernie's partner is actually the director, Ken Russell, in this movie. Yes.
Interesting.
He also had a little cameo in the beginning of the movie. The person who, I think when they're walking to the party, someone like waves and says hello to Mary or something in the beginning. That's also Ken Russell.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lady Sylvia is played by Amanda Donahoe, by the way. She begins to question why Ernie was here, and he lets her know that she wasn't expected back until spring. The two do some gossiping about the Trent family, a little back and forth.
I love the whole, she's like, you need another brandy. And he's like, oh, I shouldn't while I'm on duty. And she's like, you can't be on duty at this time of night. And he's like, okay, then. Like, good police skills, man.
Dude, I could imagine living in such a small, like English countryside village.
Yeah.
Like 2 police officers and...
Where, like, nothing bad ever happens.
No.
Like, they don't even give out, like, traffic tickets or nothing. That's wild. Yeah.
The next day, Lady Sylvia visits the bed and breakfast and gets a good look at the excavation site. She then proceeds to be nosy and search the bed and breakfast until she finds Angus's room in the fossil. And she's really, like, into this old bone man. Like, really. So much, she steals it. And as she's leaving, she changes, her, like, face changes into this more, like, snake-like self. And she spits acid onto a crucifix in the hallway.
So first off, these people are wild for leaving their front door wide the fuck open.
It's a bed and breakfast. People, like, their guests come and go,
I know, but like...
And it's, like you said earlier, nothing bad ever happens in the English countryside.
I'm just not used to seeing that. I mean, this woman just walks right in.
It's also the 80s, though.
True. And then Sylvia goes upstairs to this room. And explain to me, why did she get on her knees, like, halfway into the room and then proceeds to, like, waddle on her knees over to the skull?
I think it's just to make her, like, be more snake-like, and, like...
Maybe.
Respectful to the fossil.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And then she proceeds to squirt on Jesus. She squirted on him.
You just wanted to say that sentence, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That's so funny. She just spits on this damn crucifix.
Did she hawk to?
She did. She hawked to it all over that fucking crucifix, man.
So fun.
And it's like nasty bile looking stuff too.
God.
I mean, hey, man, to each their own, man. I don't know.
Moments later, Eve and Lord James arrive, and she finds the note about the watch and the search party. Did I mention that in my writing?
Yeah, the watch.
Yeah. So I couldn't remember if I.
Yeah. When
did I say
Ernie gives it to Mary.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned that they had a search party the next morning. I don't think I did. So, Eve and Lord James arrive, and Eve finds a note from her sister Mary about the pocket watch, but also that they're joining a search to search the area for their parents. So, just so we're caught up. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Eve decides it's too late to join the search party and wants to take a rest. After James leaves to go look at the excavation site, Eve goes upstairs and notices the green goo from the acid on the wall and touches the crucifix, which causes her to be flung back with an explosion and have these flashing visions. In the visions, a group of nuns are attacked by Roman soldiers as they pray to a crucified Jesus, who is then gnawed on by a giant snake.
I was like, the fuck?
Yeah.
I ain't never seen no explosive squirt before. I was like, that's wild, bro. And also, at the time I was like, why is this woman dressed like she's going to prom? And then I forgot about the party. I was like, it is easy. And then these Romans were wild as fuck, bro. Like, y'all just be raping. Like,
they were. Romans did that type of thing.
This. I mean, this is a normal Tuesday. You know, that's life. I mean, this is the whole, like, you ever heard of fucking Sodom and Gomorrah? Like, this is what that is.
Okay.
Anyways.
So Eve is found by James and escorted downstairs, where Eve tells him what happened to her. She seems to have forgotten the visions until she looks at her father's pocket watch, which now has a drawing of a snake on its face. Eve then explains that what she saw in the vision, and James mentions the mosaic that has been unearthed. And he kind of forces her to go outside to see it. Like, dude, give her a second to calm the fuck down. Like, she's had a traumatic. You don't know what she just saw.
Yeah, James,
she just saw some really hard and harsh shit.
James is kind of an asshole in this.
And he's a lord.
Yeah,
he's a British lord, rich white man.
And the watch, like the hands of the clock or the watch have turned into like serpent shaped things. But yeah, like I can't believe he forced her to go outside to see this fucking mosaic.
Yeah, and the mosaic is of a snake wrapped around a cross.
Yeah.
So Eve and James then go looking for the skull, but can't find it. And then they are found out by Angus and Mary, who have arrived after the search party. James leaves, and Eve begins to tell her sister and Angus what happened to her. Meanwhile, a youth looking for a ride stumbles upon Lady Sylvia sitting in her car in the rain, snake watching. They do some very inappropriate flirting, and Lady Sylvia offers him to drive off at her home. And they play a game of snakes and ladders until Sylvia wins. And then the youth, Kevin, or Kev, his friends called him Kev, he plays a harmonica, and she kind of gets hypnotized and charmed by it, and does some dancing until he stops playing. Sylvia then gives Kevin a bath where she bites him with her snake fangs.
So at first I was like, man, this woman's like a Black Widow, man. She gonna kill this boy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was like, yes, there's no better way to seduce a woman than to whip out your harmonica. Okay. Like, you just start playing that fucking mouth flute, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, and then I was like, this dude's kind of young looking. Like, he a bit too young to be in this woman's house. And then she bites him on the penis. With her snake fangs.
So I'm pretty sure the consenting and legal age in the UK is 16. Like they can drink at 16, and I'm pretty sure it's the legal age to have sexual relationships with other people. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's probably why he looks so young, because he probably was. Yeah. So she bites him, like you said, on the penis, and then she informs the paralyzed Kevin that he's going to be a sacrifice for the god. The plan changes when the doorbell rings, and to get rid of the evidence of Kevin, she pushes him down into the water so he can drown. At the door, Lord James is Lord James, and he talks to her about her snake problem, hearing about what happened to Ernie's ankle. Sylvia then invites him in for a drink, and they have a conversation about games and drinking, and the innuendos they throw around are just infused with this sexual tension. Lady Sylvia lays on the crocodile tears and tells James that she's had a rough couple of days and that she has a phobia of snakes. She then throws the snakes and ladders game into the fire and says the word rosebud. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's never explained. Never mentioned again.
The rosebud thing.
I did find it interesting that there's a board game called Snakes and Ladders.
Yeah.
It's like Chutes and Ladders, but for snakes.
I think it originally was called Snakes and Ladders.
Do you think snakes play games?
Should we ask one?
Oh, hey. We do. Hey, Buffy.
He's sleeping.
Yeah,
he doesn't care. Yeah.
That's fine.
By the way, for listeners, Buffy is my ball python.
That's Buffy the Rodent Slayer?
Yes, it is. At his home, James is on the phone with Mary, and she lets him know that they had to sedate Eve. He then watches this old silent movie before going to bed. That night, James dreams of entering a cave and then being on flying on a jet. And on the jet, Sylvia, Mary, and Eve are the flight attendants. As Mary silently gives out safety instructions, Sylvia forces a couple that have been tied up in their seats to drink a strange liquid. James finishes a crossword puzzle that is of a snake coiling around a cross. Sylvia then tries to force James to drink the liquid, but Eve stops her. Then they fight. Sylvia and Eve fight, and they're kind of like just rolling around, and you're getting some like upskirt shots and stuff. And as James watches, his marker becomes more erect. Then the man that was tied down sits up and walks away. And there's like these shots of legs, like out of nowhere. And then James walks down the plane and into the cave and finds the pocket watch.
Yeah, so if you've ever had cholera, and you know that like fever dream that you get, and you're just sweating profusely and stuff, and you're like right there on the precipice of death, this is what you would imagine.
This is the dreams you're having?
This is the dream.
This
is the
dream.
one. Yeah.
This is a death fever dream.
Yeah, you're dying. You're dying. Your body's freaking out, right? And then for some reason we get some like weird fucking Indian leg wrestling shit out of Sylvia and Eve.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then people are just fucking getting fucked up. When James goes to walk off the plane, I didn't realize he was walking into a cave, so immediately I was like, oh, he's about to fucking like DB Cooper himself off this fucking airplane, dude. Jump off into the fucking Oregon forest or some shit.
What is happening? Where are we right now?
I don't fucking know. I didn't know where I was when I was watching this movie. Yeah, he's gonna fucking DB Cooper himself.
Fucking God. James is woken up and handed a newspaper by his butler, and it reads that the search for the Trents have been called off once again. He notices the similarities of the picture from the paper and the painting of his ancestor defeating the white worm, or the Diampton worm, or whatever. And he makes the connection. Later on, James, Angus, and the Trent sisters visit the cave, Stonerich Cavern. And there's a whole lot of talk about how and what could be living in the cave because James is convinced that the worm is still alive or like a descendant of the worm is.
I loved how his butler, Peters,
he just seems to love his job, right?
He does. And I just loved his fucking like passive aggressiveness, putting that tray down and shit. Like he was intentionally just knocking shit over.
He was being loud on purpose, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. That seems like some petty shit.
And then James just sits up and he's sitting there drinking his fucking tea and he's like, draw me a bath, won't you, Peters? And Peters is just like, you know, in his eyes, he doesn't say, he's just like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, he's not happy with his job.
No.
They search the cave and where the watch was found. Angus shows James an ancient cave drawing of an intersex person. They unfortunately call it a hermaphrodite in the movie, but I prefer the term intersex because it's very much more appropriate and, you know, it's nicer. James implies that the Diampton worm could be intersex and that how it could survive over thousands of years.
Yeah. What stood out to me about this scene is they're in this cavern looking for what could be a fucking giant white worm. But there's still time to stop for tea.
Of course.
Yes.
They're British.
And a sandwich.
They're British.
Yes. But it's just James. It's just James.
The sisters, eat a sandwich.
I didn't see them eating a sandwich.
Or they stopped and drank some tea.
I didn't see them drinking tea. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I just saw James.
James kind of suggests that the Trent sisters' father might have been eaten by the worm, and the watch passed through without being digested, and that's why it was in the cave. Mary, Angus, and James go further into the cave to where the watch was found. Eve goes back to the inn to take care of their guests. On the way back through the forest to the B&B, Sylvia calls to Eve from a tree. Very much biblically, yes, very biblical. Sylvia then finds or kind of coaxes Eve to go to the temple house with her. So she's passing through this grove. There's lots of trees, and then Sylvia, who is obviously the snake person, snake demon or whatever, is calling to Eve and actually has Eve help her out of the tree. So, and also the names Eve and Mary are also biblical to all this. It's all very Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve type stuff going on. It's anyway. Sylvia then tells a hypnotized Eve her backstory, telling her that she's immortal. She then has Eve call her sister. Well, there's lots more about backstory, but it's just so much. There's so much backstory. Sylvia is immortal. She was in love with a snake god and was fucking one of the emperors of Rome or some shit. Okay, and that's the gist of it. It's not really that important. Anyway. Sylvia has Eve call her sister to tell her she's gone to London to get away from all the stress of everything going on. And then while on the phone, Eve glances down at the crucifix on her ring, and she snaps out of the trance and shouts Dionon, which is the name of the snake god Sylvia follows.
This scene was very sexual in nature.
Yeah, it's all sexual.
It's all sexual. Sylvia somehow finds time to get her tan on, and so she opens the lid to the tanning bed.
Yeah.
Now, I want everybody to know that in the opening credits, okay, it stated that this story was based on the works of Bram Stoker.
We'll get into that, okay?
I know. But there's a lot of symbology towards like vampirism and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So her being in the tanning bed, it was almost like her opening her casket, her coffin, you know. Which, mind you, Sylvia is fucking stark naked. Okay?
Yes.
And when she opens it, you get a little bit of bush, you know, bare breasted. She rolls over immediately. And then she's like, she tells Eve to disrobe,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Eve is starting to get naked. She doesn't quite get all the way naked. But now Sylvia somehow,
Oh, yeah.
she dons this really large phallic object.
Sharp phallic.
Sharp phallic.
Yeah.
And starts,
Touching her.
touching Eve,
Assaulting her.
Assaulting
Yes.
her, implying that Eve is a virgin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, that whole scene was strange, almost difficult to watch, but yeah, interesting nonetheless.
So Eve has another vision of the nuns being impaled and Sylvia licking up at their blood. She falls into a seizure-like state and Sylvia removes the ring from Eve's finger. Over at the B&B, Mary tells Angus and James that Eve said and mentioned the name Dionan. As Mary calls up the station, the train station, to check on Eve because she hung up and was screaming, Angus and James talk about the name Dionan, who was a pagan snake god. After phoning the train station and there's no sign of Eve, the group conduct that Eve's disappearance is connected to the pagan god. They connect the fossil to the snake god.
Yeah, it's about fucking time, dude. Like it was not a stretch.
No, it wasn't. They're just taking a while.
Yeah.
They take that corner slowly.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you're both Doctor Who. Like, why can't you figure this out, bro?
James makes all the connections between the cave and the Diampton worm, the connection of Temple House and the Romans, snakes and ladders. James then prepares a Turkish chamber music to charm a snake. Or Turkish charmer? What was it? Was it Turkish chamber?
Yeah, it was like chamber music or something.
All
like
right,
that.
gotcha. You get it. He has put these large speakers on top of his house, and he starts to blare the music so loudly that Sylvia hears it and emerges from this weaved basket, much like a cobra.
That was a bit too much on the nose for me.
A little too much. A little too much.
I mean, I get that she's a snake.
Yeah.
But come on, man. Like, be a little clever about it.
Dude. A hypnotized Sylvia leaves Temple House. Angus and Mary sneak into Temple House, and Angus makes a note that Sylvia has a bust of Marcus Carausius. Carausius? You say it. Marcus Carausius, a rebel emperor from ancient Rome, who is on the coins that were found at his dig. As they search the house, they find Mary and Eve's mother, Dorothy, watching a snake charmer on TV in a hypnotic state. When Mary tries to talk to her mother, she grows snake's fangs and bites Mary before running off. When Mary is bit, she has a vision of being stabbed by sharpened phallic objects attached to a group of intersex people. Angus then sucks out the venom from Mary's neck.
Yeah, so when Angus and Mary show up to Temple House, and we see Sylvia walking out, as they walk in, they find the bust of Marcus Cassius, or Carausius, or whatever, and then they go into, and further in the house, there's these stained glass windows that are green and have the appearance of snake scales. And I was like, that is really cool. That was a nice touch. You know, you're in the snake's lair, essentially. And then we see the mother, and Mary's just like, oh, Mom, like she hasn't been missing for a fucking year or so, and then Mary gets bit and Dorothy runs off and we never see her again. Do we?
Yeah, we see Dorothy again.
I must have spaced out, dude.
Okay.
Anyways.
So Angus rings up James's house and speaks to the butler Peters, leaving a message for him about the weird shit going on over at Temple House, and that Sylvia is on her way to James's house. James tells Peters to unlock the front door, and to lock up the chambermaids. As James calls the police, he hears Peter's scream and then is attacked by Dorothy.
Oh.
He is able to take a sword and cut her in half, but both sides of her body are still alive.
I spaced that one.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Wow. Angus calls James again and lets him know that they're back at the bed and breakfast, and to let him know that he's going to do some research into the whole, like, Marcus, whatever his name is, the snake thing, all this stuff. And also he has taken the sample of the venom he sucked from Mary's neck. As they end their phone call, James looks down and finds Dorothy holding his ankle, about to bite him. Angus lets Mary know that her mother has died, and the next morning the police show up to ask Mary to identify the body of her mother. But turns out that James apparently has been retained as they conduct their investigation about the murders of Peter and Dorothy. Or Peters and Dorothy. Mary mentions that she also wants to put out a missing persons file for Eve. Then Mary notices that they aren't heading towards the police station, and Ernie tells her that they're also picking up Lady Sylvia due to James's claims against her. And Ernie tries to coax Mary to go into Temple House, and Mary notices a bandage on his wrist and makes a run for it, but the gate closes before Mary can escape.
Yes. Who knew that Ernie was gonna be a snake?
Well,
you know,
apparently when Sylvia bites someone, they somehow become like snake people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of like zombies or whatever, you know, like
or
get infected.
Vampires.
Or like vampires, yes. Yes, Troy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, Bram Stoker knew what he was doing. He knew he had a type. He had like a thing, and he just went with it, okay?
Yeah.
He went with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was penetration, and he went with it.
Wow. Yeah, penetration.
And what else would you call it?
Oh, I don't know. Being bitten? I don't... Anyways.
Mary is cornered by a snake and the snake Ernie, but the sound of bagpipes charms both to follow the sound and to leave Mary alone. Angus, bagpipes in hand, leads Ernie away from Mary, eventually running out of air. As Ernie attacks him, he's able to push the snake man away, and he falls, impaling his head on a sundial. Angus then plays the bagpipes through the Temple House before giving himself a dose of anti-venom.
Yeah. Seeing Peter Capaldi in a kilt playing bagpipes is definitely a vibe.
It's something.
And what's slightly disappointing was he wasn't actually playing bagpipes, obviously. Because in some of the wider shots of him and Ernie going at it, you can see that his fingers are not moving. Like, he's just holding it.
Yeah.
He's blowing into it, but he's not playing it. So, I don't know. It's a small detail that I feel like was just kind of overlooked, I guess. And then obviously we see Ernie get impaled through what I can only assume is his glass eye.
Yeah.
Like
the sundial.
Yeah. So, anyways, interesting.
Also, the thing about the bagpipes, I read this as well, is that even though apparently he runs out of breath, how the bagpipes work is they collect the breath inside the bag, so you continue to play it while you're gathering more air. So he could have easily kept playing the bagpipes and taken a breath. Yeah. But so also Angus somehow has a mongoose who's the snake's natural predator. And he lets the little guy go and then follows the animal. Then the dead mongoose is thrown in his face and knocks him back. Sylvia then bites him and takes out the earbuds she was using to block out the sound of the bagpipes. She then begins to prepare the Trent sisters to get ready for the sacrifice to Dionon. Meanwhile, James and a group are at the cave preparing to gas the worm. It turns out that Temple House and Stone Ridge Cavern are connected. And Eve can hear James through the tunnel. So you hear his name echoing, or his voice echoing. Sylvia begins the ritual to bring forth Dionon and crown Eve as the sacrifice. Also, Sylvia is strapped. She's got this large pointed strap on and is about to impale Eve, but is interrupted as the large snake god emerges from the tunnel, Eve hanging down over the giant opening.
Mm-hmm. So, when we see Angus finish playing the bagpipes and stuff in the house, and he pulls out this fucking mongoose from only, like, I can only assume was his kilt. Like, he didn't have anything else on it. Like, so he pulls this mongoose out from under his kilt, and I thought the thing was just fucking dead at first, or fucking a stuffed animal. It was very still.
Yeah.
And then he sets it down, and the thing fucking takes off.
It's like it comes alive.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, where'd you pull that from?
There's lots of questions.
Yeah, lots of questions. And then Angus gets bitten, and I was like, no, Angus. Because it's not explained what he was injecting in him at first.
No, not yet.
So once we get into the cave and the lighting and stuff, and you've got Sylvia, who is she's only got this like cod piece on, sort of like loincloth looking thing. Like it was kind of reminiscent of Ghostbusters for me, a little bit.
What do you mean?
So what I mean by that is, like, in Ghostbusters, you've got Sigourney Weaver's character.
Yeah.
And she's being kind of held hostage a little bit. Her and Lewis are in these fucking, like, you know, creature statue things or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have the big bad, whom I can't remember their name. And then you've got...
I can't remember it either.
And then you've got the Ghostbusters, who, might I say, Angus would make a really good Egon. Okay?
Yeah.
I can see it, for sure. So, as you can tell, like, it's kind of reminiscent of fucking Ghostbusters a little bit.
I can see how you can kind of connect these two.
Yeah. And then, when we see the fucking pièce à la résistance, okay, I was like, holy strap-on, Batman. That is a huge piece, bro.
Dude.
What are you going to do with that?
I think that make you go, yeah,
you know? Bro. Like that
oof.
hurts. That hurts my guts.
That,
you know?
I could,
like,
no.
Oh, Jesus.
That's horrible. So Sylvia tries to cut the rope to have Eve fall into the mouth of Dionon. But Angus wakes up and pushes Sylvia. But Sylvia is able to grab a hold of Eve's feet and dangles above the large snake. Angus then begins to cut Sylvia's wrist off, making her become the sacrifice to Dionon. Angus is able to free Eve and Mary and tell them to leave as he goes back. Angus then pulls a grenade from his kilt and throws it down into Dionon's hole, blowing him up. Modern solutions.
At first, I was like, hell yeah, Angus, get her. And then I was like, bro, you ain't got to cut her fucking hand off like that. That's a little too much. That's like, I don't know. Like, that's Hannibal Lecter shit right there, bro. You're going off the deep end. And then the grenade. I was like, where the fuck
Where's he putting all this stuff
from?
in the kilt? You got a mongoose, you got an
know.
antidote, you got grenades. Like, where are the pockets?
It's the TARDIS. He's got the TARDIS hidden under his kilt, okay?
I wish I'd never... Well, I mean, you knew who he was.
I knew who he was.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you knew. You knew he was a doctor.
And then when he goes to free Mary, like, Mary literally just freed herself. Like, she wasn't even really tied up.
Nah.
Like, he didn't really do anything.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, this whole fucking time, Mary? This whole time?
You could have been putting in the work to help.
Yeah, bro. No, but she's that fucking, like, C's get degrees type fucking person, bro. Like no effort whatsoever.
So Angus gives Eve a dose of the anti-venom to make sure she doesn't go all like snake crazy. And from the cave, James and his group watch Temple House burn. James arrives back at the inn and Angus is waiting for him. He lets him know that the girls are okay and they're in the hospital, and they discuss how James figured it all out, blah, 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 blah. The discussion is cut short when the phone rings from inside the B&B, and a nurse from Derby Hospital Research Lab turns out that there was a mistake with the anti-venom, and that the hospital gave Angus just something for arthritis. Angus hangs up the phone and stares at himself in the mirror, and then joins James as they drive to the hospital to see the girls. James asks if they can stop for a bite to eat, and Angus says, why not? And then as James changes gears in the car, he noticed the snake bite on Angus's leg, and the screen cuts to black and the credits roll.
I love that shot when Angus finds out.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminds me of, you've seen the movie Speed.
Yeah.
Right? So in Speed, Jeff Daniels' character, he's like leading the SWAT team to go raid this house. And once they're inside the house, they're looking around and he spots this fucking like what looks like a thermostat, but it's like blinking red faster and faster. And the camera cuts to Jeff Daniels' like expression on his face. Mm-hmm. And I watched an interview of how Jeff Daniels.
I've seen the interview actually.
Yeah,
the cheek fall.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of this, of like when you finally realize the fact that you're already dead, like that there's nothing you can do, and you're dead, and it's just like, fuck, dude, that's a strong emotion to go through. So, and I think Peter Capaldi really pulled it off in that one for sure. And even like looking for the fangs and stuff, that was a nice touch. Yeah. And then when he goes outside, James tells him like, slither in. I was like, why did you do? Who wrote this? First off, fucking, you're telling the audience something that they already know. Like to me, it's like ha, very funny,
Yeah.
And then the whole like, oh, stop for a bite to eat, like, come on, dude, like, we get it.
Yeah.
We got it. Which it's supposed to be like a horror comedy.
Yes, it is.
So, there's supposed to be some funnies in there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just, I mean, not exactly how I would have ended it, but
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It ended how they ended it, a little cliffhanger kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they'll make a sequel. Peter Capaldi will come back in his old age.
The 1988 movie, The Lair of the White Worm, is directed by Ken Russell and is loosely based on Bram Stoker's 1911 novel of the same name. Also, the name Ken Russell should ring a bell. He directed Gothic, a movie we covered a few episodes back.
Son of a bitch.
That's why I asked you earlier if you had recognized the name.
Well, at the time, no, but I can see it now.
Yeah.
I can definitely see it.
Oh, yeah. Although they share the same name and a similar plot, the book and the film have some major differences, which happens a lot for some reason when it comes to film adaptations of books. We hate it. Everyone hates it. Mm-hmm. Where the book has a classical Gothic horror approach, the movie tends to be more campier and more sensual. The ends don't line up as well. In the movie, we get a bit of a cliffhanger, and in the book, the ancient evil is defeated.
Yep.
So, Bram Stoker actually loosely based his novel off of an English folklore tale called The Lambent Worm. The story dates back to the 14th or 15th century and is one of the region's most famous legends. The story tells of John Lambton, who catches a strange worm and then carelessly throws it into a well, where it grows to be a monstrous dragon-like creature that terrorizes the region. After returning from the Crusades, John battles and defeats the worm, but a curse falls on his family for 9 generations. The tale is a well-known part of Northeast England's folklore, symbolizing themes of redemptions, curses, and consequences of one's actions.
Also, I think you've been saying Bram Stoker.
Did I? Bram Stoker.
Bram Stoker. That's what you've been saying. Which
Bram Stoker.
I want to copyright the porn name. I
No.
feel like that'd be a good porn name.
Why? No one else caught that but you. It's Bam's. I wrote Stroker.
You wrote Stoker. It's Bram Stoker, obviously.
Well, if that proves that I don't copy and paste shit, I don't know what else will. Because damn. Bram Stoker. God damn it.
Anyways.
Okay, the Lair of the White Worm was filmed primarily in the United Kingdom, with most of the locations set in a picturesque and eerie landscape of the English countryside. Chadsworth House is a famous stately home in Derbyshire. Is used to represent the grand estate of Lord James D'Ampton. Hampton Hall is a medieval manor house in Derbyshire, which is used to represent Lady Sylvia's marsh lair. So they're both two actually ancient houses, just like medieval. Come on. That's crazy. It's crazy how old things are over there. Over there?
Over there?
Over there?
Over there? Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a pretty old place.
It is, yeah.
I would love to one day go see these houses.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so cool.
It would be so cool. These are gorgeous houses.
If we could just go, like, on a European trip that just, like, follows ancient houses that have been in, like, movies, like, famous movies, that'd be so sweet. I bet there's a tour like that.
That's why we need so many people to follow and support the podcast.
so we can go to Europe.
We can go to Europe and explore all these places that people would only dream about.
So the budget for the Lair of the White Worm was relatively modest, estimated about £1.5 million, which is approximately like $2 million. The Lair of the White Worm did not perform strongly in the box office. Sorry to break it to you. Wow. It earned only around like £300,000, like worldwide.
That's sad.
Yeah, but so what did you give it? What do you give it?
I don't know. I'm kind of where you are, like maybe a 6 or a 7. You know,
6 or 7.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie, and I would definitely watch it again.
It's good. It's not. It's definitely not like, you know, what we watched last week, which was Don't Answer the Phone. Like, I never want to see that movie again.
No.
I never want to see Gator Bait again.
No.
You know, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's something like, hey, do you want to watch something that's kind of weird but entertaining?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would suggest this to people to watch because it's weird, but it's entertaining. And it's got talented actors. It's got some talent. I'm
definitely vibing with the Ken Russell movies.
You like the Ken Russell, huh?
Yeah, well, we had Gothic.
There's some more of his movies that I want to touch and watch and stuff.
Okay. I mean, with Gothic, I liked Gothic because we were exploring the Mary Shelley's creation of the story of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's historical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're exploring an actual work that was influenced by Bram Stoker's book, you know. So
Bram Stoker's?
Stroker?
I'm pretty sure you said Stroker.
Stroke her. Okay.
Stop.
Anyways, you know, and those are the type of movies I like because they're very gothic in nature, you know. And then next thing you know, we're gonna be, you know, maybe doing some Edgar Allan Poe stuff or something like that. I mean, you know, I'm all about that type of stuff. Well,
we have an infinite amount of content. Like, honestly, if you have your next, episode, extra movie coming up soon, and this is what, 22, 21?
This will be 22.
22. So you need to be thinking. I don't know. I don't think I have one that you already suggested on the list. I have to look at my movie list because it's a long list. I have up to episode 41 of movies.
Wow.
So I have the next 20 movies planned out. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure you've picked one already. I just can't remember what it is right now.
I think I have. I don't know if I'm set on it right now.
What is it right now?
So I believe it was The Exorcist.
It is The Exorcist.
Yeah.
You've never seen The Exorcist.
I've never seen The Exorcist.
It's not like the whole Twilight Zone movie thing again, is it?
No, I've never seen The Exorcist.
Okay.
I promise. I swear to Bob. Okay, I've not seen The Exorcist.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I believe you.
The closest I've ever gotten to seeing The Exorcist was in Scary Movie 2. Okay.
No.
Anyways.
No.
James Woods in the bathroom, trying to expel the demon. Anyways.
Where can they find us, Troy?
Well, we're on Spotify. We've always been on Spotify. But you can also find us anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube, CastBox, Apple Podcasts. We also are very excited to announce that we have a Patreon. Okay, you can find that Patreon linked in our Facebook profile. I still need to get it linked on our website, but it is there. You can subscribe for $5 a month. You can get access to the raw, live, unedited versions of these episodes. We've also started doing some video recordings of the episodes and stuff like that. So all that stuff will be on there.
We've talked about maybe making merch. We haven't really touched on that lately, but maybe stickers or hats or t-shirts or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe,
give us some feedback on that. If you guys would be interested in something like that, we definitely want to hear from you. So also you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on TikTok.
As long as it's around.
As long as it's around. So be sure to reach out, give us a follow, leave us some reviews. And that's all we've got for today.
Say your thing.
My thing?
Yeah, say it.
Ooh. Well, I would say keep those popcorn bowls ready and stay spooky.
Bye.